padlock I'd put on the front door was gone, replaced by a cheap brass chain lock. As I kicked the door open, the sight that greeted me made the air rush out of my lungs. A massive, floral print couch where my dusty drop cloths should have been. A stack of takeout containers piled next to a small worry space heater, and a woman I immediately recognized as the HOA president standing in the kitchen, casually stirring a pot of soup on my portable hot plate. She looked up, her expression not one of shock, but of sheer, icy annoyance. She set the spoon down with a deliberate clink and sneered, "What in heaven's name are you doing, barging in here? You're interrupting my dinner?" I just stood there, holding a box of expensive tile, staring at the squatter who was claiming ownership of the very air inside my newly purchased home. And that's when everything went wrong. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment. What would you do if this happened to you? And subscribe to HOA Files. My name is Alex, and I'm a high school history teacher who moonlighted as a very amateur, very enthusiastic home renovator. For years, I'd been dreaming of a quiet escape, a place I could fix up and eventually retire to. That dream finally materialized 6 months ago when I purchased the property I affectionately dubbed the Overlook. It was an abandoned, dilapidated cabin nestled deep in the Whispering Crest Mountain Estates, a small, secluded community that was once a prestigious vacation spot. The house had been vacant for nearly 8 years, a true fixer-upper. It was dark, dusty, and needed everything from a new roof to a new floor. But the views were breathtaking, and the price was right. The community had an HOA. Of course, but since the house was abandoned, the previous owner hadn't paid dues in years, and the HOA itself seemed mostly dormant, preoccupied with managing the few remaining full-time residents. I paid all the back dues and fines as part of the closing. I was handed a thick packet of bylaws, mostly standard stuff about trash cans and exterior paint. I signed the papers, got the keys, and felt the thrill of ownership, even if it was ownership of a wreck, because of my teaching schedule. I couldn't start the full renovation immediately. My plan was to spend the summer tearing everything out and securing the structure, then start the serious work during my holiday break. Over the next few weeks, I spent every available weekend up on the mountain. I cleared the yard, removed all the debris, and installed basic necessities: a new sturdy padlock on the front door, a heavy-duty combination lock on the electrical panel, and some motion sensor security lights. It was dirty work, but it was my dirty work. My first hint of trouble wasn't a letter. It was an interaction. I was loading up a truckload of moldy drywall one Saturday morning when a pristine white SUV pulled up. Out stepped a woman whose perfect power bob and designer sunglasses screamed authority. This, I soon learned, was Eleanor Higgins. The HOA president. She approached me, clipboard in hand, looking at the debris with palpable distaste. "You must be the new owner," she stated, not asked. "I'm Eleanor Higgins. We need to discuss the state of your property immediately, Alex," I said, extending a hand she didn't take. "Yes, I just bought it. I'm in the demolition phase." "Demolition is a strong word for what appears to be a chaotic mess," she sniffed. "Your debris is a hazard, and frankly, Mr. Alex, your house is an eyesore. You have created an unacceptable environment for the residents of Whispering Crest. Your exterior lights are also too bright and are not approved. They must be removed." I felt the first prickle of indignation. They're motion sensors, Eleanor, for security on an empty house. And I'm hauling this load right now. I'm moving as fast as I can. Fast isn't good enough, she'll cut me off. You have 30 days to have this property fully enclosed and painted an approved neutral color. Failure to meet this deadline will result in fines. It's effective immediately. She didn't wait for a response, just scribbled something on her clipboard and drove off. Her audacity was stunning. I knew then that this wasn't going to be the peaceful retreat I dreamed of. I worked furiously. But 30 days was impossible for a full exterior renovation on a teacher's budget and schedule. A month later, as expected, the fines started, $50 a day for unsightly materials. I contested them, sending copies of my renovation permits, but the HOA simply responded with another, colder letter Compliance is not optional. It was a slow, expensive bleed. But I refused to give up. The next small incident was a subtle escalation. I had boarded up a broken window on the backside of the house. When I came back the next weekend, the boards were gone, tossed carelessly into the weeds, and the window was wide open. Nothing was taken, but it felt like a clear message. You can't lock us out. I replaced the boards, adding heavy-duty screws this time. Then came the major turning point. My winter break finally arrived. I'd saved up money for the big interior jobs, plumbing, electrical, and the bathroom tile. I drove up the mountain, a truck loaded with tools, a new water heater, and several boxes of expensive Italian tile. I was ready to finally dive into the real work. I pulled up to the cabin, and immediately, something was wrong. The motion sensor light I'd installed was it was staying on. There was a faint trail of smoke coming from the chimney, which shouldn't have been possible because the chimney flue was supposed to be sealed. For the winter, I cut my engine and sat there in the silence, a profound sense of dread settling over me. Someone was inside. I grabbed the heavy crowbar I kept in the truck bed and approached the house slowly, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I got to the front porch, and that's when I saw it. The padlock was gone. My heavy-duty lock, the one I put on to secure the property against exactly this kind of intrusion, was missing. In its place was a flimsy, cheap, brass chain lock that looked like something from a Laurent motel. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, keeping my voice low. I'm at my property. I believe I have an illegal squatter, possibly armed. I need the police immediately. I didn't wait for them to arrive. I couldn't. I had thousands of dollars in new materials sitting outside, and some stranger was actively living in my house. I lifted the crowbar and brought it down hard on the chain lock, snapping it with a jarring metallic screech. I kicked the door open. The sight that greeted me made the air rush out of my lungs. A massive, floral print couch where my dusty drop cloths should have been. A stack of takeout containers piled next to a small worry space heater, and a woman I immediately recognized as the HOA president. Eleanor Higgins standing in the kitchen, casually stirring a pot of soup on my portable hot plate. She looked up, her expression not one of shock, but of sheer, icy annoyance. She set the spoon down with a deliberate clink and sneered, "What in heaven's name are you doing, barging in here? You're interrupting my dinner?" I just stood there, holding a box of expensive tile, staring at the squatter who was claiming ownership of the very air inside my newly purchased home. And that's when everything went wrong. I dropped the box of tilet, hit the warped wooden floor with a heavy thud, and just stared at her. The disbelief was so intense, it felt like a physical blow. "Eleanor," I finally managed, my voice raw with controlled fury. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" She actually rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Mr. Alex. I am not in your house. I am managing a community resource." This property was clearly abandoned. The previous owner hadn't paid dues in years. When you failed to meet the renovation deadline and the fines started accumulating, the board initiated a temporary receivership. A temporary receivership? You bought a chain lock and moved in. This is trespassing. This is breaking and entering. I shouted, pointing to the broken lock on the floor. She calmly picked up her clipboard, which was sitting next to the stove. The board legally voted to seize the property for unpaid fines. I am temporarily occupying the premises to conduct a full interior assessment and secure the utilities. You are now technically interrupting an official HOA proceeding? I was speechless. She had used her position, fabricated some legal nonsense, and physically moved herself into my home, running a space heater and cooking soup as if it were a vacation condo. You have no right to seize this property. I roared. I paid all the back dues. I own the deed. I'm calling the police. Too late, Mr. Alex, she purred, a triumphant glint in her eyes. The police are already on their way, and when they arrive, I'm going to tell them that you, an aggressive man with a crowbar, just illegally broke into a secure HOA-controlled community asset. You are the intruder here. She was utterly confident, totally convinced she had one. I was the homeowner, and she was turning the tables on me. Just then, the wail of sirens echoed up the mountain. 2 patrol cars pulled up outside. This was it. This was the moment of truth. I took a deep breath, dropped the crowbar, and stepped away from the door, my hands raised. I'm the owner, officer. She's the intruder. 2 officers rushed in, their hands on their holsters. Surveying the scene, the broken door, the man in construction clothes me, and the impeccably dressed woman stirring soup, Eleanor? What is going on here? The lead officer, a young man named Officer Miller, demanded. Eleanor immediately launched into her performance. Officer, thank heavens. This man, she pointed a trembling finger at me, just broke into this house. I am the president of the HOA, and this property is under HOA receivership due to multiple repeated violations and unpaid fines. He attacked my lock and burst in here. He's a dangerous trespasser. Officer Miller looked at me. Sir, can you confirm her claim? I confirm I broke the lock, I said calmly, because I own this house. I have the deed in my truck. She is the trespasser, and she is impersonating an official capacity to commit squatting. I paid all fines and back dues 6 months ago at closing. She is lying. Eleanor scoffed. He's lying, officer. The fines accrued after closing. We had to secure the property. I was simply trying to protect community assets. She held out her clipboard, which I knew contained fake documents. Officer Miller wisely ignored the clipboard. Sir, do you have your driver's license and proof of ownership? Yes, officer, I said. It's in the glove box of the truck. The second officer, Officer Chen, went to retrieve my documents. As he did, I looked directly at Eleanor, was still trying to explain the receivership to Officer Miller. Eleanor, I said, do you realize that when the police run my address, they're going to get the same information they got at closing? They're going to see that I am the legal registered owner. And when they find out you changed the locks and installed your personal belongings in a home you don't own, you won't just be facing criminal trespass charges. You'll be facing charges for illegal eviction and theft of utilities, for running a space heater and a hot plate off my electrical panel. Her face, which had been bright red with fake indignation, suddenly went slack. Her eyes darted to the space heater, then to the hot plate. She realized she had used the homeowner's electricity for her illegal squatting operation. Officer Chen returned. Handing my ID and a copy of the deed to Officer Miller, Officer Miller scanned the deed, his expression unreadable. He looked at me, then at Eleanor, then at the floral couch and the pot of soup. He folded the deed and handed it back to me. He then turned to Eleanor, and the final, beautiful climax began. Ms. Higgins, he stated, his voice professional and cold. The county registrar confirms that Mr. Alex is the legal owner of this property. Your HOA has no legal right to seize or occupy this home. You are, at this moment, trespassing. You also admitted to changing the locks on the rightful owner. He nodded to Officer Chen. Officer Chen. Place her under arrest for criminal trespass and breaking and entering. Eleanor's composure completely shattered. You can't. I'm the HOA president. I'm securing the property. You don't understand the bylaws. She shrieked, scrambling back against the stove. I understand property law, Officer Miller countered, unfazed. The homeowner has demanded your removal and requested prosecution. You have 30 seconds to gather your personal belongings, or they will be impounded as evidence. The sight of Eleanor, the all-powerful HOA president, being handcuffed next to the portable hot plate she had used to cook her soup in my kitchen, was absolute glorious vindication. She was sobbing, shouting about community standards as Officer Chen walked her out. The floral couch, the takeout containers, the space heater, all of it was hauled out and impounded. I spent the rest of the day resecuring the house. The police took my statement, and my lawyer was ecstatic. Not only were the fines now null and void, but the entire HOA board was now facing a massive legal challenge over their illegal actions. Eleanor's little receivership fantasy had blown up into a full-scale legal nightmare for the entire community. The moral of the story? Never let a bully, no matter how official they sound, dictate the terms of your legal ownership. Hold on to your deed, know your rights, and trust your gut. And always, always be the one who calls the police first. My renovation is finally underway, and the mountain air has never smelled sweeter. But I did hear they're electing a new HOA president next week, and I'm sure she's already sharpening her clipboard.